Mhm.
This is Sandra Lang. Do we need to rename ourselves for your participant?
Sandra, if you could just stay. No, you don't need to rename yourself. Are you just the iPhone?
Yeah.
Yep, I got you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Karen, we're live. Emily, you're all set.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Burlingame City Council meeting. Tonight is Monday, November 16th, 2020. We're glad you could join us for this evening's meeting. We're calling it to order at 7 p.m. And I'll pass it over to our city clerk so she can explain how members of the public who may be joining us for the first time can participate in tonight's meeting.
Hi, everyone. So there's a couple ways to participate, but first I ask that you all keep your microphones off and you keep your cameras off. If you would like to participate, there's a few ways to do it. You can Zoom chat me. It will only go to me, and then I will read your comment out at the appropriate time. You can also email me at publiccomment@burlingame.org, or you can raise your hand, which is a feature in the window, to let me know that you have a comment that you would like to speak for yourself. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that overview. We'll begin as we do. Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So if you're able, please stand and join me for our Pledge of Allegiance. Hand over our hearts and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will move now to our item 3, which is our roll call.
Councilmember Coulson.
Here.
Councilmember Brownrigg.
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Here.
Vice Mayor O'Brien.
Here.
Mayor Beach.
Here. We are all present and accounted for. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 4. We did not have a closed session this evening, so therefore there's nothing to report out. Item number 5, we do have a number of upcoming events. I noted a few of them and we'll share them with the community. This isn't technically an event, but it's worth mentioning in case folks have missed it. We have moved in San Mateo County into the red tier for our where we are at as far as the virus spread, which means we are going to be restricting more activities per state law. So please check the newspapers, check the city's website. There's more information on that. But what we all have to do, we know the answer to this, right? We need to cover our faces with face coverings and keep social distance, try to avoid gatherings and crowds and wash hands as much as possible. So please stay healthy and safe, particularly over these holiday seasons where we tend to be more enclosed. Number 2, we have El Camino Real Renewal Project that's sponsored by Caltrans in partnership with the City of Burlingame. Another public forum virtually has opened today online. Between today, November 16th, and December 17th, you can check out ecralternatives.com. There's new information about different alternatives that the project is considering as they're seeking public input. So there's some new information, new platform, and ways to communicate. We encourage the community to engage in that very important project. On Wednesday, the 18th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m., there'll be a community meeting regarding our future town square downtown. It'll be a Zoom meeting regarding the signature open space that we've contemplated for many, many years in this community. You can email townsquare@burlingame.org for more information, or you can check out the city's e-news this past week for details about how you can log in. And we're very excited about that project. Item number 4 is there will be a drive-in movie Thursday, November 19th, The Goonies. Thank you to the Parks and Recreation Department. Gates open for cars at 5 p.m. and the movie starts at 6. $20 per car for residents, $25 for non-residents, and you need to register in advance. So go out and enjoy a drive-in movie. There's also a drive-in concert this Friday, November 20th. Mustache Harbor will be performing. Gates open at 6 p.m. Concert begins at 7. $40 admission per car for residents and $45 for non-residents. And again, registration is required. So check out the registration.burlingame.org, or you can call our Parks and Recreation Department. We have free flu shots that were advertised in our e-news this Saturday and this Sunday. Compliments of a whole group of partners, including some of the Lions Club, but you can find out more information by calling 415-713-3479. The location is going to be Samaritan House, or you can check out the website. That's the Global Initiative for Health and Wellness. That abbreviation is GIHW.org for more information. So everybody, please get your flu shot this season. Very important to keep yourselves and the community healthy. We have a great event that the library staff is working very hard on, and a community committee, Burlingame United Against Hate, will take place November 30th through December 6th. There's some amazing programming that will be publicized. It's already starting to get out there. Speaker series, community discussions about how we can combat systemic racism in our community, things for kids, young kids, teens and tweens and adults, and even a community art project. So really encourage you to learn more about that and print out those Burlingame Stands United Against Hate flyers for your windows. More information at our library's website. We also will be having a virtual tree lighting ceremony this year. We're sad that we had to be canceled in person, but the tradition does continue. So on Friday, the 4th of December at 5 p.m., please join us virtually for our virtual tree lighting ceremony and participate that way. Colleagues, what have I forgotten? There's a lot going on this time of year. Anybody have an additional announcement? Looking here, I don't see any hands raised from colleagues. So with that, thank you for your patience, but we thought a lot of those were worth pointing out. Item 6, as far as presentations, we don't have any in advance of our meeting tonight. Public comments for non-agenda items. This is the time when members of the community may speak to the City Council any item that's on your mind that is not on our agenda this evening. So if you choose to speak, you can have 3 minutes to speak. Due to the Ralph M. Brown Act, our open meeting law, we can't deliberate or comment on the items, but we can consider your input for future agendas as well. So I'll ask our city clerk, do we have any members of the public who have written in or wish to speak on an item not on the agenda?
We do. We have Council Member Wayne Lee from Millbrae wrote in.
All right.
It says, Dear Madam Mayor Beach and City Council, I regret that I cannot present in person and express my thanks to each of you. I am exiting the Millbrae City Council after 9 years. I feel I am fortunate to serve Millbrae, San Mateo County, and the state of California as your representative on the Association of Bay Area Governments, and as the president of the California League of Cities, Asian Pacific Islanders Caucus, and the San Mateo County API Caucus. The success of the projects we worked on together for the benefit of our region and the city of Burlingame through collaboration and mutual support was due to your magnanimous and thoughtful actions. My respect for your city staff and you have grown to admiration and gratitude. Please don't tell Millbrae, they may think I'm moving. As partners, we have built more housing for those in need, addressed climate change, mitigated the effects of SFO operations, addressed head-on bigotry, and built our mutual and separate economies. Yes, I spent a lot of money in Burlingame. How about some reciprocation? In summary, it has been a deep, profound honor to work with each of you and say that you are my friend. I wish you, your staff, and Burlingame citizens well, and best wishes for a safe and healthy future. And it looks like Miss Adrienne Lee has her hand up. So if you would like to comment, Adrienne.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Now we can hear you, thanks.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hi, I wanted to comment on 2 of the grants that we received for traffic improvements. The first for the bike lanes on California Drive, and then the other grant on east of the train station near Burlingame High School and the island over by the tennis courts at the Burlingame train station. I wanted to first say congratulations to staff and the city on getting the awards. That's wonderful to have those grants available. My comment was that both Manito and I on the BPAC have been working on plans for that island area. As you recall, we have asked for improvements at the city budget council meetings the last 2 years on that area. So it has come across Manito's and my desk frequently, the improvements. And what we noticed on the plans that have been submitted, which are a very good start, was that the big oak tree on the island looked like it was going to be taken down as part of the plans. So I wanted to be sure that the oak tree remains, that go over and look at it. It's a gorgeous oak tree. And secondly, I was hoping that BPAC would be able to give some input into tweaking the plans to make that area east of the train station better. And then also, of course, on the bike lanes, which I will defer to others' expertise on that. But congratulations to the city and to the staff on getting that. And we hope BPAC will be able to work on it. And I hope I'd be able to particularly work on it with Manito. We've been planning that area east of the train station for a while and have plans circulating between us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lee, for your comments. Madam City Clerk, do we have any other public comments?
I don't see any, but Councilmember Brownrigg does have his hand up.
Okay, before we go to Councilmember Brownrigg, I want to just ask members of the public who may be with us that want to raise their hand. I don't see any other hands raised, and I do want to thank Ms. Lee for her comments and also thank Councilmember Wayne Lee, and who is also the former mayor of Millbrae, for just outstanding collaboration over many years. All of us are friends with him and all the members of the Millbrae City Council, and we appreciate his kind remarks tonight too. He's been a great advocate for so many important items and policies here in our region. So do we have any other, no members of the public? Councilmember Brownrigg, did you have any other comment?
Just briefly to endorse your comments, Madam Mayor. I wasn't sure you were going to say that, but I also appreciate very much Mayor Lee's work to bring the two cities together. If you look at the significant projects they have at the south end of their city at the BART station, you think about the significant projects that we're shepherding in the north end of our town, it becomes so clear that borders are one thing, but we have to collaborate to make sure that all of our residents can be served well and have access to great housing, great parks, great public transit. So really appreciate Wayne's constant reaching out, thinking beyond his zip code and the friendship that he's shown this city over the years. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownrigg. We all share those sentiments. So moving on, and now we'll close public comment and move on to our consent calendar. I will first ask whether any members of the council wish to pull an item for discussion, and then I'll open it up and see if any members of the public wish to pull an item for discussion. And I do see Councilmember Colson's hand went up first. Yes, which item?
8G, please.
8G.
It's the Flood and Sea Level Rise Resiliency District grant application.
Yes, and thank you for your work on that. We'll pull that on 8G, and no other items, Councilmember Colson? Just that one? Okay. And Councilmember Brownrigg, which item would you like to pull?
Forgive me, Madam Mayor, I'm not looking at the agenda, but the one on impact fees.
Impact fees, yes, that's sort of our reporting. I believe that is 8F.
Thank you.
Yes.
And my comment is brief. I probably could make it as a comment on the motion, but I'll pull it just for simplicity.
Okay, and at this time, I'll ask if any members of the public wish to pull an item from the consent calendar.
We actually have an email pulling 8F as well. So,
Okay.
Councilmember Brownrigg.
All right, thank you. And with that, I don't see any other hands in the gallery. So I'm more than happy to entertain a motion on the other items, which I believe are 8A, B, C, D, E, and H.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Councilmember Ortiz and seconded by Councilmember Colson. We'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Colson,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Aye.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Brien,
Yes.
Mayor Beach.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 8F, which is the impact fees, and I'll give Councilmember Brownrigg an opportunity. And then, of course, a member of the public will, when we open up to public comment, will have the opportunity to speak as well.
So this is more by way of a comment that I appreciate the thorough staff report. This is on all the different fees that the city levies on different kinds of development and how much is in each fund balance. I would find it helpful in future reports. And I understand that this is a little difficult because every housing unit is a different shape and size, but I think sometimes we lose track of the total amount of fees that go on a given unit of housing. And I think it would be helpful for us to have a rough estimate of how much fees per door we are assessing in the city of Burlingame. I know we compared ourselves on a square foot basis with other cities, but I think beginning to understand the total levy that we put on a developer for a unit of housing is an important metric for us to have in our heads. And again, I concede to Director Gardner that it's challenging because some units are studios and some are 2 bedrooms. So maybe you have to come up with a standard kind of 1 bedroom unit or something. But I do think having a sense of the gross fees we're levying on new housing units would be helpful for us. And that's my suggestion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownrigg. I saw Director Gardner pop in. I don't know if you have a comment on that, and I do see Councilmember Coulson has her hand up, but I wanted to give staff an opportunity to, if you had any comment on that. No?
We could certainly do that. I will give the background that when we set the residential impact fees, we did do that exercise. Part of the what we looked at was the feasibility, because exactly what was described, we don't want to overload the units and then find that we're not getting units because our impact fees are too high. But that said, it's always good. That's now been a couple of years, and it's always good to kind of brush things off, look at current market conditions, and see how things are looking now.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Coulson, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So my comment was just to clarify that you're not talking about single family homes. You're talking about multifamily residential.
Right. That's where the impact fees are supposed to go. And that's where I think we also need to know how how those fees change the costing of new multifamily development.
And should that include, or are you interested in having that include, like, for example, the school fees as well? They're not our fees.
Absolutely. It should be a universal set of the fees so that we can see how much of a burden we're putting on developers, in part because I think developers are going to start asking to have them waived. And I think we should have a sense of what that means in an absolute sense. So yes, thank you, Councilwoman Coulson and Director Gardner.
Colleagues, any other comments on the fees as well? I guess my only other comment, I know finance has definitely had their hands full. We're transitioning software, and I think as part of that conversation, eventually when the time is ripe, it'll be important to look at. I agree what the burden is per unit, and as we look at all these fees holistically, what's sort of the market rate for these fees in other communities, and what are we doing compared to what we're doing in Burlingame, because that's what our, if you will, our competition nearby. And it's been a while since we've really holistically looked at all these fees, so there'll be a time in the future when we can do that, when the moment is right. So when we have the bandwidth, quite frankly, for staff to oversee that. So thank you for that. With that, we will open it up to, if no other colleagues have comments, we'll see. There's a member of the public who wishes to speak on this, Madam City Clerk.
Correct. I see that during this evening's meeting, you will be reporting out on the status of impact fees. And so I thought it might be a good time to open up the conversation and research regarding incorporating a new type of linkage fee, a child care development fee for commercial and new residential developments. The fees collected could be used to help mitigate and offset the impact of new development with the need to provide more child care facilities, both commercially run child care facilities and smaller licensed family care or family child care facilities. As you know, the child care industry, like many other industries, has been hit extremely hard during the pandemic, and many quality programs have been forced to shut their doors permanently. Childcare is not an industry that we can allow to collapse as its reach affects all of us in the community. Childcare is a valuable community infrastructure that interrelates with housing and transit. Childcare sited near housing, jobs, and transit reduces car trips. Currently, families may drive an extra 45 plus minutes to get to quality care. Early learning programs looking to open new sites or expand existing sites face challenges such as lack of usable, affordable space and extreme development expenses and timelines. Many give up on their expansion dreams. Many cities along the peninsula, such as San Mateo and South San Francisco, have already adopted childcare linkage fees, and I would love to see the discussion and research open up regarding adopting a similar fee to help support the children, childcare programs, and families of Burlingame. And that is from Liz Scully, board member of San Mateo County Office of Education Childcare Partnership Council.
Thank you for that public comment, Ms. Scully. And again, since that's really not, it's related, but that's a separate agenda item. You know, that's something we can certainly consider for a future discussion as well. With that, any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item, you can raise your hand or dial *9 on your phone. If not, we will close public comment on this item and see if there's any final deliberation or comments before we entertain a motion. Seeing no hands raised, would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Vice Mayor O'Brien made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Brownrigg. We'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Coulson,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Brien,
Yes.
Mayor Beach.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 8G, which is a resolution about the supporting the submission of a new grant application to address our sea level rise challenges. And we do want to say a special thank you to Councilmember Coulson for working with staff on this and your work on this issue regionally. And I believe you wanted to pull this item, so please go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much. I just wanted to take one quick minute here and recognize our staff who this is a very new kind of federal grant. It's actually under FEMA, and BRIC stands for Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, and there will be $500 million available throughout the U.S. The staff worked very expeditiously, and Syed and his group. Well, I see Len, I just see he popped on here. So I want to take a quick minute and just introduce our CEO of our district, Len Matterman. Len, maybe give yourself a wave there, who jumped on. So Mr. Matterman, working with Syed and the staff, were able to pull together, I mean, really in like 2 days, the initial notice of interest to get that in. And we were selected, as you can see here, to apply for the second round. And we had a really positive meeting with Burlingame Millbrae and the SFO group to put together potentially an MOU to put a whole district and deal with our north, like the Reach 1 and 2 level for Burlingame, sort of north of Broadway on up, which I think is a really timely situation. It's the most vulnerable, plus it's the, there's some other potential changes, as you all know, going on up there. So it's a good time to take this undertaking, you know, and run with it. So we'll be submitting the grant application on December 3rd, and we just wanted to make sure that we had letters of support from all the council to put into this packet. So that is why I wanted to pull this off. We're hoping to get approximately $300,000 in grant funds. The next step of the project, which will be putting together all of the sort of specs on filling in the data of what we've actually got in this area, will be a 500 total, so another 200,000 to the cities and SFO, and we'll be dividing that up. We're figuring out a way to do that. So potentially next year, you may be asked for some funding for this. And really, I just wanted to pull it off. So if any of you had questions on this, you'd have a chance to to ask with Len here.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Coulson and Mr. Matterman for being with us as well. Councilmember Brownrigg, did you have any questions?
Just to thank both Mr. Matterman and Councilman Coulson, and maybe to ask you to briefly describe why the grant proposes to study the area north of Broadway and not our entire seafront or bayfront.
Sure, I can do that. Or Len, why don't Mr. Matterman please jump in?
Well, and I'd probably ask for help on answering this from Syed or others at the city. You know, from my perspective, one of the outcomes of Burlingame's analysis that was completed last December is that reaches 1 and 2, so-called, which is north of from Broadway, are the areas that are most at risk. And given that we didn't have an unlimited amount to apply for, it was really capped at $300,000, and we wanted to include Millbrae and aspects of San Francisco Airport, we basically had to limit the scope of the project, the geographic scope. What we may do is look at optional tasks, but depending on how the budget looks, optional tasks to increase the scope. And so that's something we're looking at right now. Syed may want to add something, or Councilwoman Coulson.
Covered it, Len, well. Don't have anything to add.
Thank you, Director Martusa, and thank you, Mr. Matterman. Councilmember Coulson, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Did you have
no. Thank you very much, Mayor Beach. So that's really it. But I do want to point out how critical this is, why this is the main reason why this district was formed, to allow us an easier way to facilitate and to also acknowledge the enormous amount of work that the district will take on with this project that then does not fall onto our staff, but will be working collaboratively with the Fizzler staff. And I think this was the whole commentary when Congresswoman Spear was working on this, is that it was going to be much easier for us to apply for federal grants if we were amalgamated and approaching it in a logical way that didn't necessarily just hit city boundaries. And so I hope that the next step that Councilman Brownrigg and I are on the committee, and my hope for the next step is we'll get this grant in. Hopefully we'll find out if we get it, and then we'll probably want to reconvene our Sea Level Rise group and start thinking about how we inform and let the public know and get some more input as this process gels and everything comes into being. So really just to get everybody up to speed quickly and to thank everybody for all the expeditious, quick turnaround on the work.
Thank you, Councilmember Coulson, and big thanks on behalf of all of us to staff. It takes a lot to pull these grants together. We know that, and it's appreciated. Gets us additional resources for our community. That's just excellent. Okay, with that, did we open up? Yes, we had. Did we have public comment on this yet? I'm getting confused. We got a little out of order here. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
There are none.
Okay, and anybody who joined by phone, you can dial *9 and you can raise your hand, or go to the participant window and raise hands. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Would anybody like to propose a motion on this item?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Councilmember Coulson, seconded by Councilmember Brownrigg. We'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Coulson,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Brien,
Yes.
Mayor Beach.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We're moving on to our public hearing section, and we have item 9A for a public convenience and necessity, PCN pursuant for a yada, yada, yada. Basically, I'm going to turn this one over to staff to explain in plain language to the community what this really means. And I believe, let me see, do I have is this Director Gardner?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. A request has been submitted to the city for a finding of public convenience and necessity for A&A Gas at 1100 Broadway to obtain a Type 20 beer and wine license. The existing zoning is C1, general commercial, and does not require conditional use permit. However, a finding of public convenience and necessity, or PCN, is required because the number of licenses for alcohol sales within the census tract already exceeds the maximum number allowed within that tract as set by the California Alcohol Beverage Control Board, or ABC. So we have a lot of acronyms here. The property is situated within census tract 6051, which has a maximum number of licenses of just one. Currently, there are 5 off-sale licenses that exist within that census tract. The Burlingame Police Department has reviewed A&A Gas Incorporated's request for approval of the ABC license, and the findings for this review are included with the staff report. In summary, the police department would support a finding of public convenience and necessity, given that 1100 Broadway is located in a commercial business district with no parks or schools in the immediate area. A&A Gas Incorporated provides a variety of other grocery and sundry items to serve residents and visitors in its mini mart, and police-related calls for service at A&A Gas Incorporated have been minimal. Though the police department supports a finding of public convenience and necessity, Chief Matucci has recommended 5 conditions be forwarded to the ABC for its consideration prior to issuance of the license. Those conditions are listed in the staff report and in the proposed resolution and relate to property maintenance and public safety, so that the sale of off-sale beer and wine would not present an impact to the surrounding area. And with that, this concludes the overview of the PCN request. I'm available for questions as well as Chief Matucci.
Thank you, Director Gardner, and thank you to Chief Matucci. Colleagues, do we have any questions on this item? Don't see any hands raised. This is for members of the public who may be joining us from time to time. These items do come before us. And again, this is a process we have to follow due to state laws and regulations. And we will now open it up to public comment on this item. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak?
We have no hands raised, nor chats, nor emails.
Okay. And we don't have an applicant that wishes to speak on this as well. I don't see anything, and no written comments. Okay, with that, we'll close public comment, and I'll turn it back over to colleagues in case anybody has any closing or deliberations or remarks. If not, we can consider a motion as well. Look for any hands raised. Vice Mayor O'Brien, go ahead.
So I think this is a pretty straightforward staff report, and the police department does recommend approval. They have incorporated important conditions. I find that the lighting and video surveillance is essential. Anything in regards to graffiti needs to be taken care of almost immediately, with the exception if it's on a weekend and or holiday. So based on also that this commercial business isn't located near parks or schools, I would recommend that we approve this report on the public convenience that's necessity pursuant to 23958.4 of the California Business and Professions Code related to a request for a Type 20 alcoholic beverage sales permit through the California Alcoholic Beverage Control Board.
If that's a motion, I second it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor O'Brien, and thank you, Councilmember Ortiz, for the second. Any further discussion before we take a roll call vote? Seeing no hands raised, Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Coulson,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg,
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Brien,
Yes.
Mayor Beach.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, colleagues, for that. We'll move on to item number 10A, where we will consider 2 appointments to the Traffic Safety Parking Commission of our city. And we'll turn this over to
That's me.
Director, Madam City Manager, thank you.
Yeah, commission appointments are run through the city manager's office. So we are asking you to make appointments to fill 2 impending vacancies on the Traffic Safety and Parking Commission, which we call the Teaspoon. And oops, I just lost my place. Hang on one sec, sorry. Problems with Zoom. So vacancies are due to expiring terms of Commissioners Jeff Launder and Lynn Israelit, and Commissioner Jeff Launder elected not to reapply. I know that he is on the Zoom tonight, so I'm sure he would love to say his goodbyes, and council would like to thank him. Vacancies were publicized, notification letters were sent to past commission applicants. City received 5 applications as of the extended deadline of October 23rd, and when an incumbent commissioner elects not to reapply, we do extend the deadline an extra couple of weeks. So the council interviewed the following applicants via Zoom on November 9th, and I apologize if I get anybody's last names incorrect. So you had Adrian Lee, Lynn Israelit, Christopher Beal, Manita Velasco, and John Allen. And again, you have 2 terms. They'll be for 3 years ending on November 6, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you for that overview, Madam City Manager. We appreciate that. We had some great candidates, as we always do, great applications. And we do want to take this opportunity to say extra special thanks to Commissioner Launder, who served so well for 12 years. And we can't thank you enough for your rock solid performance on our Traffic Safety Parking Commission. So as, let's see, what we do here, we will see if there's any questions from for staff, and we'll open it up to public comment before we vote, and then we'll close public comment. Then we will take a vote without deliberation is our process for the first round. And if 2 candidates rise to the top, that will be our decision. If we do not have a majority vote, then we will take a second round of vote, but prior to that, we will have some deliberations if anybody wishes to comment on that. So that is generally our process, correct, Madam City Manager?
That's correct.
On this. So colleagues, does anybody have any questions? Not deliberations, but questions at this point? Seeing no hands raised, we will then take this opportunity to open to members of the public who may wish to speak on this item. You can have 3 minutes. And if you are with us via Zoom, you can go to the participant window and raise your hand. If you're dialing in by phone, you can dial *9 and we'll know you've raised your hand. And I'll ask the city clerk if anybody's written in any comments on this as well.
No, we don't have any chats, emails, or hands raised.
Okay. And I see many of our candidates are here with us, and please know that we are so grateful for each and every one of you for taking the time to fill out a very thorough application for interviewing with us in person or via Zoom. Great candidates, and your dedication and commitment to the city is really admirable. So we thank you for applying. With that, we will close public comment. And Madam City Clerk, would you like us to text in our votes or chat in our votes?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. And everybody gets 2 votes.
Okay. So Councilmember Coulson, Lynn Israelit, and Adrian Lee. Councilmember Brownrigg, Lynn Israelit, and Adrian Lee. Councilmember Ortiz, Lynn Israelit, and Christopher Beal. Vice Mayor O'Brien, Adrian Lee, and Lynn Israelit, and Mayor Beach, Lynn Israelit, and Christopher Beal. So it looks like we have majority for Lynn Israelit and for Adrian Lee.
All right, well, I want to congratulate our 2 commissioners. Our current chair of the Traffic Safety Parking Commission, Lynn Israelet for returning, and I want to congratulate on behalf of all of us, our new Commissioner, Adrian Lee. So thank you very much and to all the wonderful candidates for applying. With that, do we have any closing comments from colleagues? Oops, I've lost my participant window here. Stand by.
We have Councilmember Coulson with her hand up.
Thank you, Councilmember Coulson. Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank colleagues for running that meeting since I was unable to attend. I got their tape, was able to listen to everything. I thought all the candidates were incredibly well qualified, and I hope some of them will continue to apply for the commission as seats come up. And thanks for handling that while I was not available.
Thank you for, as we always do when we can't attend there, if one of us misses it, we really appreciate staff going the extra mile to record so that we can have that perspective as well. So thank you all. And I think we all truly appreciate Jeff Launder as well for his service. And there will be a moment, I know Traffic Safety Parking Commission has a more formal appreciation. I'm glad I could swing by the Teaspoon meeting last week. And of course, our commissioners dinner will properly honor your service as well. But thank you for your many 12 years of service in so many ways on our city, not just on the commission, but through Envision Burlingame and through, one thing after another, whether it's Citizens Environmental Council of Burlingame or other city council meetings, issues you care about, you've always been so engaged. So we know we'll continue to see you in our universe. We know that for sure. All right, with that, we will move on to the next item. And we are moving on to item 10B. There's actually a lot of issues tonight related to the Traffic Safety Parking Commission and their purview. We'll be considering the possibility of increasing the frequency of Traffic Safety and Parking Commission meetings. So we'll turn this over to Director Mertuzza, I believe, on this.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Staff recommends the Council discuss whether to increase the frequency of the Traffic Safety Commission meetings from the current schedule of once a month to twice a month, or to hold special meetings on an as-needed basis. During a recent council meeting, Councilmember Brownrigg had requested City Council to agendize this item to consider increasing the frequency. The Traffic Safety Commission meetings are staffed by Senior Engineer Andrew Wong, who performs all technical work and prepares documents related to the meeting. And we have another staff member, Management Assistant Stephanie Brewer, who performs the administrative functions at the meetings, for the meetings. The meetings are also attended by Police Department Traffic Sergeant, who assists in the information related to traffic speeding enforcement and other safety issues related to traffic. In preparation for the meetings, there's a considerable amount of work that goes into that involves studies, data collection, and analysis, preparation of reports, and neighborhood meetings prior to the commission meetings. Typically, it takes 62 to 85 hours of staff time to prepare for these meetings. And at times, it has taken more than 100 hours of staff time on complex and controversial items. In addition to the commission meetings, staff involved in the transportation program perform additional work on a variety of programs, such as the capital improvement program that involves engineering design, construction, private development reviews, regional transportation issues, and other major initiatives. Information regarding the details of the current work program for staff are included in the attached exhibit to the staff report for details, which I'm not going to go into at this time, but be happy to answer. There is an ever-increasing demand on staffing resources regarding transportation programs due to a large number of ongoing projects, work program, backlog of work. Additionally, there's more demand due to COVID-related street closures, parklets, and traffic control management. Increasing the meetings to twice a month will further exacerbate the current backlog unless additional staffing is provided. The need for a second monthly meeting can be handled through a special or an ad hoc committee meetings on an as-needed basis. Also, it is noteworthy to mention that much of the work involved in traffic inquiries and concerns is typically addressed by staff as part of their daily duties whenever possible, without having to wait for the commission meetings, unless they involve complex issues, larger community input. The Traffic Safety Commission discussed this matter twice. First in September as part of their separate, as part of a separate item, and last week on November 12th. At the September meeting, the commission members commented on preference for holding once a month meeting and special meetings on a as needed basis. At the November 12th meeting, after much deliberations, the commission voted 4-1 in favor of recommending holding once a month meeting and holding special meetings or on a as needed basis. With this, I conclude my presentation and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Director Murtuza. Colleagues, do we have any questions for staff? Councilmember Brownrigg, thanks, and go ahead, as this is an item that you brought to our attention, so go ahead.
Well, so Madam Mayor, I'm happy to make comments at this point. I don't really have any questions for Director Murtuza, or I can make comments later, depending on how you prefer.
Well, I think the most important thing we do is ask questions now, and then once the public has a chance to comment, then we can comment after we consider that input. So that's how I think we should handle it. So any other questions for staff? Okay, seeing no questions, we'll give members of the public an opportunity to weigh in on this. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak, Madam City Clerk?
I have no emails, no chats, and I'm not seeing any hands up.
Okay, thank you. We will close public comment on this item, and we thank our Traffic Safety Parking Commission for taking a lot of thoughtful time over 2 meetings to deliberate. Councilmember Brownrigg, why don't you kick us off for your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thanks for agendizing this conversation. You know, I am always looking for ways for government to work better. And I knew proposing this change that staff would not be in favor of it. It doesn't surprise me at all because it does mean more work. And I guess it depends in part in terms of making that investment in time, whether you think you get value out of having citizen commissioners provide more input to the process. Personally, and I'm just speaking personally, I feel over the last couple of years, I have fairly regularly been inundated by messages going into a council meeting where we're being asked to approve, you know, basically rubber stamp, you know, traffic and safety projects and programs. And there are questions being asked and concerns being raised and quality issues being put on the table that I feel should not be sorted out by council members. They should be sorted out by commissioners. And, you know, I mean, as the most recent example, the parks and parklet question, which clearly has significant traffic and parking implications, didn't go through Teaspoon. And why not? Because Teaspoon doesn't meet often enough. Now, I did read the report and I've spoken to commissioners, and I understand their preference is not to meet more often, but to hold ad hoc meetings. You know, that's fine. If you never hold an ad hoc meeting, though, it doesn't do any good. And I think sometimes our commissioners are a little cowed by staff. I mean, staff are professionals, they're engineers. I completely understand it. But I reflect back on my time on Planning Commission and what I thought was a really healthy interaction between planning commissioners who meet twice a month, it's not impossible, and professional staff who knew a lot more about architecture and regulations than I did, or than most of us did, although there were architects and builders on the commission. But nevertheless, it created a really robust partnership, which I think yielded better outcomes for the city. I don't expect this reform to pass tonight, to be honest, but I don't like the way the system is working right now. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Brownrigg. Colleagues, do we have any other comments?
May I,
Councilmember Ortiz?
may I just add one quick PS? In raising this question, Madam Mayor, and I want to direct this directly to Director Matuza, I think very highly of our public works staff as a whole. They are out at night, cleaning sewers, fixing burst water mains, all sorts of great things that our city does, our public works staff do. And I don't take anything away from that hard work. But the notion of planning traffic and safety changes, especially for a city that wants to grow by 20% and is going to put more pressure on neighborhoods, I think deserves a process that has more public input. So I just wanted to add that this is not anti-staff, this is pro-public participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownrigg. I think Councilmember Ortiz, did you have your hand up next?
Yes, I did, Madam Mayor. Thank
Go
you
ahead.
very much. I just want to say, based on the input from the Teaspoon Commission and staff, I'm having a hard time seeing how there's enough benefit in adding the meetings to offset the cost and the inconvenience to commissioners. And truly, I believe that the ad hoc availability is a good mitigating factor. So I'm going to go against this one. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ortiz. Vice Mayor O'Brien is next. Go ahead.
I would concur with Councilmember Ortiz. I think, we have utilized the ad hoc subcommittees in the past, whether it was from the Hoover School, traffic issues, Lion Hogue, downtown Burlingame. So, and they've done a very good job with that. So if anything, maybe we have our public works or traffic and safety staff push for more subcommittees when there is increased public interest in particular projects that come up. But when I read the staff report and, the commissioners aren't on board on this, I don't want to force something on commissioners that aren't going to be available twice a month. And we do get a lot of good people who apply. So I don't want to defer people that may not apply if there's a lot of increased time. So far, I think we've accomplished quite a bit with our subcommittees. So I would rather go that route and strongly encourage maybe more ad hoc subcommittees and not just, the occasional. So if there are increased concerns in regards to certain projects or certain issues, then maybe we spend more time on those by, having, two people serve on various subcommittees that, attend to those issues.
Thank you, Vice Mayor O'Brien. Councilmember Coulson.
Thank you. So I was pretty flexible and tried to really come at this with an open mind, but I did speak to a number of the commissioners, especially the chair, Chair Israelite, and it does seem to, and having been a commissioner myself on a once a month commission, you kind of know what your schedule can handle. And I know for me, I traveled a lot at the time. So it was really a one meeting a month was about what I could handle. So I was a little concerned about upping it to 2. That said, I do like the compromise of maybe, again, more subcommittees. We did a lot of subcommittee work on the Park and Rec Commission. We had a field subcommittee. We had the CAC committee for the center. We were really divided up and really did a lot of work in that way and pushed it back up. So I think that structure could work. But it also seems to me like from talking to some of the commissioners, maybe there needs to be a more laid out agenda for the year so that, and maybe there needs to be a meeting with the council more regular, like once a year, more regularly, so we can give more input and feedback. Maybe there's a few things like that we could do in the interim that might help out. And if that were the case, I'd be willing to try that and see if that might create some efficacy around the commission.
Thank you, Councilmember Coulson. I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay.
Cut myself off. Thank you very much.
There you go. So I appreciate all colleagues' comments and for this discussion and the thorough staff report. I concur with Vice Mayor O'Brien and Councilmember Coulson. I think listening to the commissioners is important, and I think it makes sense to use ad hocs or special meetings as needed. I do have a difference of opinion with Councilmember Brownrigg in the sense that I think a lot of these projects or a lot of the issues that come before traffic safety parking, what we depend on them to be the policy vetters as we are. We're not the technical experts about how to build technical specifications of roads, but to seek the public input and to consider the policy. And I feel like that our commission does a good job, and not that you're not saying they don't do a good job, but that there is significant process involved, particularly when there's projects. That's when really the rubber meets the road. When a specific, so the bike ped master plan, lots of discussion at the BPAC level, at the Traffic Safety Parking Commission level, that input, there will be further discussion as projects are developed, as we take pieces of the master plan and then figure out what are we going to do with California Drive and what are we going to do with this bike boulevard. And that process, we really do depend on them to vet for us. I don't feel like it's rubber stamped by the time it gets to us. I feel like some of the last minute conversations or the input that we get is very helpful. And sometimes when you dig a little deeper, it's people that just didn't get their idea put forward, that wish their idea was put forward, but wasn't put forward as part of the process. So I do think we put a lot of process when projects come forth. When it comes to things like the parklets, that had to happen so quickly. There were so many economic variables that have impacted businesses, not only just the roads and the streets, but I think that really required council's attention way more than we didn't have time for the process to vet through traffic safety parking and everything. Even if they had met twice a month, that was sort of emergency situation. So I'm feeling like I agree that I think we can utilize ad hocs and special meetings as needed, but we just don't have the resources to add additional staff right now and to support the work that would be needed for twice a month. And I'm not sure that we have the content at this point that merits it, but we can always reevaluate as needed. So with that, is there anybody who wishes to make a motion to?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to just withdraw the project. It's clear this, I concede to the sentiment of the group. I think this is a reform that we can consider in the future if need be.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. Mr. City Attorney, we don't have any other process we can just pull at this point?
No, we don't need to do anything.
We don't need to do a vote?
Yeah, to require 2 meetings, we would have had to do an ordinance change anyway. So we
Okay.
can just move on to the next.
All right,
Did we get public comment? I'm sorry.
we did.
Okay, sorry. I
Yes,
guess
and-
nobody spoke, and so it's me. Sorry. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, though, for that. Okay, we are moving on then to the next item, which is item 10C, related to traffic safety parking regarding the Lion Hogue neighborhood traffic calming improvements. And we appreciate Councilmember Brownrigg's vision as mayor on getting this conversation started, which has been a long, important work in process. And we'll turn this one over to Director Mertuzza. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to bring this item to you. I recall that night when Councilmember Brownrigg was a mayor, he held a town hall meeting. We had nearly 100 people that attended the meeting and had a robust input regarding many, many traffic issues. So Councilmember Brownrigg, this is for you. Essentially, the recommendation is for council to adopt the attached resolution awarding construction contract to Sierra Traffic Markings in the amount of $270,584.30 for the Lion Hogue traffic calming phase 1 improvements. This, as I mentioned, this has been a longstanding concern in the community regarding traffic speeding, cut-through traffic in the Lion Hogue and adjacent neighborhoods. Staff has been working over the last couple of years with the affected neighborhoods and residents to get their input and devise strategies and conduct studies And as a result, staff developed a traffic calming solution and recommendations, which was approved by the council in May 2020. And this is to essentially implement the phase 1 of those traffic improvements identified in the report. As outlined in the staff report, there are several trial striped circles, traffic circles, speed cushions, high visibility crosswalks, bulb outs. And these are all trial. These will be finalized when they work out, and that would be phase 2 project. And also a widening of bike lane on Howard Avenue, and curb markings and lane line stripings at several locations. The main purpose of these improvements is to quickly deliver near-term traffic calming benefits, unlike major projects which require longer time to design, bid, and construct. Once these improvements are constructed, staff will monitor them before considering additional modification or finalizing them with permanent improvements such as bulb outs and traffic circles. The low bidder is Sierra Traffic Marking, and they are 21% below the engineer's estimate of $343,000, which is a great bid price. And we have verified references of the contractor, and they meet the project requirements, and therefore staff recommends approval. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director Murtuza, for your team's hard work on this over many years. Great news on the bids being very competitive. And just to remind members of the public, this has been a long process. And most recently, for those who want to see more details about what some of these improvements look like, there's a very thorough presentation from our May 18th, 2020 City Council meeting with visuals and explanation and details to dig in. But this is just sort of awarding the contract rather than debating the design at this point, although we welcome any and all comments as well. So colleagues, does anybody have any questions on this particular item before we open it up to members of the public? I don't see any hands raised. So at this point, I will open it up to members of the public, ask our city clerk if we have anybody that's written in. And if you're with us tonight and would like to raise your hand using the participant window, you can do so now, or you can dial *9 on your telephone so that we'll know you'd like to speak.
I have no emails and no Zoom chats, and I don't see anyone with their hand up.
Okay. We'll give everybody another moment. Seeing no hands raised, we'll close public comment and invite colleagues if you have any comments or deliberations before we take a vote. If not, would anybody like to propose a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to support this, with thanks to Director Murtuza and the team for seeing this project through from conception to where we are now. We all appreciate it, and it isn't for me or for anyone up here, it's for all of our friends and residents who live east of El Camino. So thank you.
Second that.
Thank you. And thank you again, Councilmember Brownrigg, for your vision on this.
East of California, sorry about that.
That's all right. We knew what you meant. We were thinking the same thing. But and a second by Councilmember Ortiz, and we will take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Coulson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg?
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Brien?
Yes.
Mayor Beach?
Yes. All right. That is that motion passes unanimously, and we thank staff for really looking creatively at these to have them in phases where we can do some improvements that aren't extraordinarily expensive. They still cost money, but they give us some time to experiment and really see how they're working before we implement longer term solutions. So great work on that. Moving on to item 10D. We are going to consider a resolution regarding the town of Atherton's withdrawal from membership to the South Bayside Waste Management Authority. And we will have a staff report with further detail on that. Is that our fearless finance director, Ms. Augustine? Although I think you are muted. There you go.
Got it. Great, thank you. The staff report itself on this item is rather detailed, so I'll just make my comments very brief. As you know, the City of Burlingame is one of 12 member agencies that comprise the Joint Power Authority known as Rethink Waste. It's also referred to as SBWMA, the South Bayside Waste Management Authority. Earlier this year, the town of Atherton formally notified the SBWMA of its intent to withdraw from the JPA effective December 31st of this year. Under the JPA agreement as amended, a member may withdraw only after liquidating their proportional share of all existing debts as of the date of withdrawal, including any bonded debt, and after obtaining approval of the withdrawal by a 4/5 affirmative vote of equity members. As of its September meeting, the Town Council of Atherton agreed to pay the liquidation cost as had been determined by the SBWMA board. There are no further actions required by the SBWMA board. Atherton needs 10 out of the 12 member agencies to vote in favor of their exit. Once they get those votes, they will have satisfied that requirement. They will then pay the costs, which are approximately $2.2 million, and that's the final step. As Burlingame's representative on the board, Councilmember Brownrigg has previously advised the council of these circumstances. Also, Joe LaMariana, Executive Director of the SBWMA, if not caught at another council member meeting at a different agency of the SBWMA, he also is on the call. And together, we would be happy to get any questions you may have answered.
Thank you for that overview, Director Augustine, and it was a very detailed staff report, and Councilmember Brownrigg for the context additionally that you've provided us along the way. Colleagues, do we have any questions for staff or Councilmember Brownrigg? All right, seeing none, we will open it up to public comment at this point. We'll ask the city clerk if anybody wishes to speak, and I'm looking to see if Mr. LaMariana is here, but I don't see him. We'd give him first opportunity if he'd like to speak, but since he's not with us, do we have any other members of the public?
Mayor Beach, we have no emails, chats, nor am I seeing anyone with their hand up.
Okay. With that, we will then close public comment and enter into any deliberations or comments before we consider voting on this. I see Councilmember Brownrigg. Go ahead.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I was meaning to make a motion. I don't have anything to comment.
Got it. I do see Councilmember Coulson had her hand up, so perhaps she has a comment.
So I spent a lot of time chat a little bit with Councilmember Brownrigg just to get some background information on this. Sorry, my internet's unstable. Let me see if I can fix this. There it goes. Okay. And I'm so, I understand why Atherton is trying to pull out. I get that it's a financial issue for them. I just want to comment that I hope our council and our staff and our citizenry always understands the benefit of collaborating with our other cities and the Joint Power Authority structure, the value that we have and the strength we have together in numbers to negotiate, to share ideas and be the best that we can be as a region. And I'm disappointed, frankly, in my colleagues in Atherton for doing this, because this notion that they somehow don't, participate in multifamily dwellings. Well, I ask of them, do you go to grocery stores and shop? And do you have housekeepers that live in apartments or gardeners? Or, do you go to an office that you work and have employers who might work in multifamily residential? We are a region and a community together. And to say somehow that this is not a part of your community is audacious. And I'm sorry they feel this way. I really do. And if we all felt this way, our whole community would be way worse off. So thanks to the other members, Councilmember Brownrigg, please pass along our appreciation for the rest of them. And I just hope we never get any ideas to back out of something like this, but we stay as a force and a collaborating partner.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Coulson. Vice Mayor O'Brien, go ahead.
My comments are actually similar. It's, you know, when we develop these JPAs, it's a collaborative effort, and it's good as a negotiation tool. Unfortunately, you know, Atherton is pulling out, and they have to pay a good bit of money to pull out, over $2 million. And as Councilmember Coulson has said, we all utilize the services one way or another. It's kind of like comparing, let's say, Burlingame and Hillsborough. Hillsborough has been very supportive of, you know, our downtown, and, you know, they don't have the commercial for themselves, but they still are a good partner. They understand the holistic approach of something like this. And I appreciate our collaboration with Hillsborough. So it is unfortunate for Atherton, and I just hope, you know, moving forward that other cities don't look at this peripherally and just narrow-minded and look at the whole picture, because I would be worried futuristically if there's other cities that want to pull out, and that, you know, would cause us to have another much more elaborative discussion. But, you know, at this point, Atherton made their decision. I hope they, you know, don't regret it later. But we just have to, you know, go with the punches at this point.
Thanks, Vice Mayor O'Brien. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo what my two colleagues have said already. We have many regional boards that look at the overall well-being of the county, and to just focus on my own little fiefdom is detrimental to the rest of to the whole county. I'm disappointed, and I agree. I think with like Councilmember Coulson said, if we all sat here and thought what's just good just for me, then we would never get anything accomplished. We're losing our slightly losing our ability to negotiate, and it's strength in numbers that we're losing. So I'm disappointed, but I see that they made their choice, and I will go along with it.
Thank you, Councilmember Ortiz. With no other, Councilmember Brownrigg, go ahead.
Well, Madam Mayor, I am prepared to make a motion, but I wanted to let you have a chance to speak if you wanted to.
Concur with everything folks have said. So here we go. Yes, Councilmember Brownrigg, go ahead.
Well, I will make a motion, but I would like to say I really appreciate my colleagues' universal view that, you know, we're all better when we hang together, and we are bigger than our individual cities. So of course we have to be fiduciaries to our residents, but there is a larger good. And I do want, so one, it really moves me to hear the comments made by my colleagues. I really appreciate it as a resident of Burlingame that we have a council that does think in that way, and that, you know, the bigger picture. And two, I want to say that you would be proud of this agency. We are doing some really cool things, almost cutting edge things with respect to waste reduction. And I'm sorry to see Atherton go. I think they will regret it, to be honest, to quote the Vice Mayor. But they do have the right, and I will therefore make a motion to regrettably accept Atherton's withdrawal from the SBWMA.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Brownrigg, a second by Vice Mayor O'Brien, and we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Coulson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg?
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Brien?
Yes.
Mayor Beach?
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10E. We have a resolution for us to consider the additional purchase of Rule 20A credits. And I believe this staff report belongs to our city manager, Lisa Goldman.
It does. Thank you, Mayor Beach, members of the council. I'm back with you to ask for some money to purchase Rule 20A credits. So just a little background, we have been working with Caltrans and our El Camino Real task force on the El Camino Real renewal project that's been going on for quite some time. We've made some good progress. And the next round of public comments actually starts any day now. And so as part of this, one way we can make this a much better project is by undergrounding the overhead power lines on El Camino. Back on October 19th, which was 2 meetings ago, you authorized staff to purchase the Rule 20A credits from the city of Saratoga at a discounted rate of 30 cents per credit. And that staff report from October 19th is included in your packet. And once that purchase has been completed and it's in progress right now, we'll have about $10.5 million in Rule 20A credits. And the estimated cost to underground the overhead utilities is 25 to 30 million. That is a loose estimate right now. There's still lots of design work to be done and whatnot, but that's what we're looking at. We have been corresponding with a variety of agencies for the past several months. And just recently, I've been chatting with the county executive officer and other staff from Shasta County regarding their interest in selling their Rule 20A credits to the city. Their county board of supervisors discussed the matter at their November 3rd board meeting, and they gave direction to staff to negotiate a deal with us. And the attached memorandum of understanding looks just about exactly like the one we have with Saratoga, except it swaps in Shasta County for Saratoga and updates the numbers. But it's all the same information, same price, 30 cents per credit that we had with Saratoga. So they have $7,500,000 in credits. We would get that at a cost of $2.25 million. So that's a really great savings of $1.5 million from what we had talked about back in June when we were looking at 50 cents per credit. So if you are amenable to approving this tonight, then the Shasta County Board will consider the MOU at their December 8th meeting. We are meeting too late for them to get on their next meeting. Their deadline for that was a week or so ago. So we're hoping that you will be amenable to going ahead with the Shasta County purchase. We also have an opportunity to purchase credits from Mariposa County. I've been in touch with their county administrative officer. Everybody has a slightly different title in counties. It's very strange. And so they had responded to our offer with a counter of about 34 cents per credit. So it's $1.15 million for their 3.376 and change million in credits. And their board of supervisors has authorized their county administrative officer to make that offer. So originally the staff report was just about the Mariposa offer, and we were going to say, let's go ahead. It's a little bit more, but we should go ahead and do this. But then we received this lovely offer from Shasta County, and it's for a whole lot more credits and at a cheaper price, which is good, a good offer. And so I had brought the Mariposa County offer to the subcommittee of Mayor Beach and Councilmember Brownrigg saying, let's go forward. Since that all happened, we came in with the Shasta offer. And so we normally would have said, let's go forward on Mariposa, but because we're still in some pretty early stages of the El Camino Real work, Public Works Director actually believes that we should stick with the Shasta County offer, which will get us about 18 million in credits, and then call it for now. We can always go back out again in the future, depending on how things move forward. But for now, we're hoping to just stick at the 18 million in credits, which would be what we had on our own, what we got from Saratoga, and then these new credits from Shasta. And so the cost of purchasing the Shasta County credits, as I mentioned earlier, is $2.25 million. Our capital investment reserve has a balance of $23,447,670 after the community centers funded and the purchase of the City of Saratoga's Rule 28 credits is completed. We need about $15 million for Broadway grade SEP. That leaves about $8.45 million remaining in the reserve prior to the purchase of these credits. That will bring us down to $6.2 million. We do have other projects out in the future that we'll need to figure out how to fund, but in our 5-year forecast, The Broadway grade separation is really the only one that pops. And so we believe at the staff level that we can handle this purchase at this very good discounted price. And then hopefully our, the economy will get better over time and we can start replenishing the capital investment reserve and have the funds we need to do some of our other big projects down the road. We also have opportunities, if Topgolf moves forward, there's some money that comes in that way. So there are ways that we can bring additional dollars into the general fund in the future. And so our recommendation is to adopt the resolution authorizing us to go ahead with Shasta County, and then to say, thank you very much, Mariposa County, we appreciate it, but not right now. I do know that other jurisdictions are looking for credits, and so I will pass that along, assuming the council concurs with our recommendation. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for the overview and for a lot of extra work that went into this on your behalf, and Director Murtuza, both of you have done just an outstanding job presenting these opportunities to our council. Councilmember Coulson, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is, when you look at the numbers, City Manager Goldman, we're saying about 25 to 30 million to underground. So we have, looks like the 10.5, we potentially will have more. There's still going to be a gap there. How do we propose to close that gap? Is it just our own capital reserve, or we'll buy more credits when we get closer? Caltrans might put some money in.
So we don't know yet what will happen with Caltrans, and we may be able to squeeze some money out of them. Of course, that's a very small possibility considering their financing right now. And there are these changes going on to the Rule 20A program that the CPUC is going through a whole rulemaking process. We expect the new rule to be finalized early next year. And so there is something that could come out of all of that that will enable us to get additional credits. And I'm actually going to ask Syed to jump in here because he's been a lot more, paying a lot closer attention to the changes to the Rule 20A credit. But if you were to go, sorry,
Yeah, no, the question basically being, we do have a plan to close the gap because
we have several opportunities to close the gap. We don't know exactly which one will pop. From October 19th on page 3 of the staff report, we have a whole paragraph on how will the city make up the funding gap. And some of the changes to the Rule 20A program. One recommendation is to allow certain large projects to receive an allocation of unused Rule 20A credits after the new rule goes into effect. And so there are just opportunities coming along. And if this project were farther along, if it had been all designed and whatnot, maybe we would have said, yes, let's go forward with Mariposa. But just because we're in a little bit of an early phase of it, we didn't want to over purchase and then find out, even though we do believe that there are places we can spend these credits, we don't want to end up with, $30 million of credits, find out it's a lot less, and then, then have to figure out how to spend the cash.
That's perfect. And I agree. I actually would probably not have supported the 34 cents just because I feel like we've set a secondary market on this. Right. So I'm glad that you guys went back and were able to negotiate at 30. I think the closer we can stick to that, the better. So I think that's my only question. I guess another option, if we only had enough to do, like if we had enough to do 3/4 of the project, but not the last quarter for some reason, would it be possible to underground most of it and then have just small part that was?
Yeah, you can phase the project and do more later. I mean, we may decide that on the very north end of town where the road widens up and it looks really different anyways, maybe that area gets done later or some other area. My preference would be to do this, start from the south and head north and get as far as we can, because that's where, the road's narrower. There's a ton of trees there. It's just a different feel than once you get, heading up towards the hospital. So we can certainly go as far as we can with the credits that we have.
I'd like to add also that the amount of credit we are looking at, $18 million, this will allow us to leverage more credits in the future, because when CPUC changes the rule, one of the aspects they're looking at is that to allocate more credits to project that is safety or a project that is large where the credits are needed. So there will be more opportunities for us to leverage more funds from other resources.
Thank you, Director Martuzza. The old local skin in the game matching funds speaks loudly, and this is just such a creative way to pennies on the dollar to get some significant value. Councilmember Ortiz, go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question has to do with the timing. Once we purchase these, how long are they good for? Is it just indefinite? And the second question is, realistically, when can we start this project so we can get a sense of when that's going to happen?
Syed?
Yeah, so these credits are they're good for essentially looking at the next round of rule changes. CPUC is looking at 10 years for the Rule 28 credits to expire for those projects that are not active. So, for example, if we have $18 million or if we accumulate more credits, they're good unless the city decides that we no longer want to do this project. That's how long it is for. And in terms of the project schedule, we're looking at roughly 2023, 2024 to start the construction of El Camino Real, if all goes well based on the current schedule.
I'm sorry, so clarification. We're considered an active project because we're actively designing it. So as long as we keep the activity going, where the credits are good.
That is correct. The one of the first action the City Council has taken is the City Council has identified El Camino Real as an undergrounding district by passing a resolution. And that is what makes the project active. And working on this project on a regular basis, making progress is one of the criteria which the city is following through with PG&E and Caltrans. So that's why it will be an active project.
Excellent. And you said next week we're starting. Is that what you said?
I wish.
The week after, next week's Thanksgiving. So we'll just right after.
It's my second language. What can I do?
Thank you, Councilmember Ortiz. Other questions for staff? Don't see any other hands raised from colleagues, so let's open it up to members of the public who might wish to speak on this item.
I don't have any emails or public comments via chat, and I don't see any hands up.
You did receive a number of emails directly to the group council from members of the El Camino Real Task Force.
Yes, and all of those that, to my recollection, were in support of making these credits so we can get the undergrounding done. And we thank them for weighing in and for their many years of work and engagement on this project. So thank you, members of the El Camino Real Task Force.
And they're still working on it. We have not let them go off into the sunset.
That's right. That's right. Okay, with that, unless anybody would like to use their raise hand feature who's with us via Zoom on the participant window, or dial *9 on your phone to raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll close public comment on this, and any final closing deliberations or comments from colleagues. All right, go ahead, Councilmember Brownrigg.
Motion to approve the expenditure, Madam Mayor, as proposed by City Manager Goldman.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Brownrigg and a second by Councilmember Ortiz. And unless there's further discussion, don't see any hand raised, we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Coulson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brownrigg?
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Brien?
Yes.
Mayor Beach?
Yes. So with that, we have a unanimous decision to proceed with the purchase from Shasta County, correct? Yes, Shasta County.
Right.
And we, again, thanks to staff on that. I remember being at a League of California Cities Policy Committee meeting back in January, and we've all heard of Rule 20A credits for a while, but it was a deep dive in understanding that these rules were changing, and there were lots of engagement with council members from all over the state on this and concern. And not only has our staff taken action to try to really obtain, I think, what is it? We've saved essentially, even from our conversation in June, $2.3 million on buying these credits at a discount, even more when you think for pennies on the dollar. But they've also, our staff has also engaged with the PUC and PG&E to talk about the policy and moving forward, what it could look like. So really appreciate not only the action to make something really tangible happen for Burlingame, but also to weigh in and try to help shape some of the policy decisions that are happening. So great work by the city of Burlingame, as Councilmember Colson says, fighting above our hitting above our fighting weight. Is that your term? Something like that. And that's Burlingame. So we now can move on to item 11, council committee and activities reports. Does anybody have any verbal reports they'd like to share before we, if not, we can always share them in written form or verbally next meeting. We'll move on.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, I'm so sorry. I'm on my phone now because
No,
my
sure.
Wi-Fi dropped, so I'm not as good at this, Vassal. But I did wanted to say that Councilman Lee did reach out about the Burlingame Stands United Against Hate Week and asked if we wanted to do a collaborative. I told him it was really in your court to determine that, so I'm just going to hand that off to you verbally tonight and let you reach out to him.
Okay, thanks so much.
And
Well,
and Mayor Rico Medina as well from San Bruno.
great, and we'll find out if they're doing individual things. The committee's been really hard at work, working on Burlingame programming, but I think all are welcome to participate who would like to. So thank you. Vice Mayor O'Brien.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that I attended the police simulation this past Friday. So it was actually very interesting to watch. And so there was, I think, 6 policemen there. And what they do is they have simulation of a variety of scenarios, and they go through the decision process of what they utilize to get the situation under control, whether it's, verbal, de-escalation, taser, utilizing their guns. It was actually very interesting to really kind of see how quick they have to respond. And unless you see this and experience it, you really don't understand what has to go through our police department's minds in every situation that they're in. And so I would strongly recommend that the rest of the council members attend. I know Council Member Colson, I think, is scheduled for tomorrow. And I did mention it to Council Member Brownrigg. So for, just everyone's opportunity to really have a, 2-hour kind of conversation with our own police department and just have a better understanding of what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor O'Brien. Great comments. The simulations are really powerful to see them in action. I concur. And any other comments from colleagues on other reports? If not, we can summarize them in written or verbal next time. And we will move on then to future agenda items. Would anybody like to add something to our plate? Seeing no hands raised at this time, we will move on to acknowledgements. Thank you to staff for those that are noted. Any colleagues have any other acknowledgements that we should consider as we adjourn tonight? Seeing none, we thank you all so much for joining us tonight, for an efficient and thoughtful meeting. We wish everybody a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. The next time we will convene I believe officially will be a December meeting already. How time flies in 2020 in new ways like never before. But have a wonderful, safe, healthy, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And we will see you again before we know it. Meeting adjourned 8:33. Have a good night.